smells and sensations. Allow it to unhook from all of that. And allow it to be drawn inward. Just draw that awareness inward. Gently into the breath. And don't try to change your breath, but just allow the awareness to merge fully into the breath as it flows in and flows out. And allow yourself to drop into the infinite spaciousness within you. The body is finite, but you are infinite. Allow yourself to drop through body consciousness into the awareness of that infinitely ever expanding spaciousness within you. Drop into it. And as you draw the awareness on the breath, bring the awareness not high in your chest, but rather allow that awareness of the breath to be very low in your abdomen. There's a sacred energy center, a chakra, called the Swadhisthana chakra, that's just about 2 inches below your belly button. Draw the awareness of the breath there. So as you're inhaling and exhaling, allow that awareness of the breath to be on the Swadhisthana chakra, just beneath the navel. In Sanskrit, Swadhisthana literally means the place of the self. Swa is self, Stan is place. So that energy center is the core energy center of your being. Draw your awareness there as through the breath you're dropping into that expansiveness. You can add a very simple mantra with this. As you inhale, allow yourself very gently and quietly to chant to yourself. On the inhalations, you're chanting so. And on the exhalations, you'll chant hum. So, hum. It means I am that. I am one with all that there is. I am one with the universe, one with the supreme reality. There is no place I end and the universe begins. I am that. So just gently allow yourself to add that mantra into the meditation. So, on the inhalations, and hum on the exhalations. As you take them from this Swadhisthana chakra, and you anchor in that seat of the self. If the mind wanders, just gently bring it back. See if you can hold that awareness. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together in Namaste at chest level. And just gently rub the palms of your hands against each other. And press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly and gently lower the hands and open your eyes. Welcome to Satsang. And Daphne, thank you so much for starting it so beautifully. Don't go anywhere. We'll have more before we leave. You know, when we enter into truth, it's always so interesting because it's the truth of who we are. It's not truth of outer space that you need a degree in science to get to. It's inner space. It's who we are. It's not something we need someone else to teach us or tell us or that you need to study in depth about. It's going into self. And yet anyone who's ever tried to deeply meditate or touch that place knows it doesn't come so easily. And one of the most beautiful ways of opening the heart to it is through chanting. And it's such a powerful and beautiful way to start satsang, because it just brings you right into that open-hearted, energetic field of receptivity to the self. We begin satsang always with a question that's come in advance from our family joining from all over the world via the internet, this gift of technology. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. There's a microphone here, so if you've got a question, just make your way to the mic, or if you're really far from it, don't worry, just raise your hand and speak loudly. So the question that's come in advance says, how do we walk through the guilt of not having done enough after we lost someone we loved? And this was asked by Pragati Madan via Instagram. So guilt serves a lot of purposes in our life, plays a lot of roles in our life. One of the roles it plays is to keep us in the mind rather than in the heart. It's the mind that says, you're a horrible person, you're lazy, you're incompetent, you're irresponsible, you should have, could have done more. It's all your fault. If only you had, fill in the blank, then this awful thing wouldn't have happened. And when we've lost someone we love, our hearts are aching. They're breaking. It's no wonder that we would rather be in the mind, even if the mind is telling us awful things about ourselves, than in the aching heart of despair. And especially that despair that seems to have no rhyme or reason. Because that's another thing that guilt does, is it actually enables us to make sense of something that otherwise is senseless. Someone we love, we lose them, they pass away, something happens, unexpected. The mind likes to have a story, it likes to understand, it likes to be able to say, this is because of that. And even if it's a story that makes us feel badly, a lot of people use the law of karma as a way of berating themselves. Oh my God, I must have done something horrible in my past life. That is why I am suffering now. We want a story. And if I can tell myself a story about why this awful thing happened, and that story is that I was irresponsible, I was lazy, I was selfish, I wasn't paying attention, I didn't care enough, I didn't notice enough. Well, again, it feels horrible. But the mind, at least ironically, is happy that now we know why. It's because I am a bad person. It's a lot harder to just drop into grief over that which seemingly has no reason. And so if you're feeling that guilt, ask yourself, what am I not feeling? What am I feeling guilt instead of? Why do I need this to be the story? What would the story be like if I were not irresponsible and lazy and incompetent and otherwise entirely useless and worthless? What would the story look like if it weren't all about me? Right? I mean, that person whom we've lost came into this world with a karmic package. And guilt, the other thing guilt does is it makes it all about us. It's my fault. Really. Like you're somehow the maker and bringer of all things karma to all people. Something happened. It must have been your doing. Like, this person came onto earth with their own karmic package, their own journey, their own lessons, their own path they needed to walk, their own dharma. They were a thread in a tapestry. It's not up to us. There's a beautiful teaching in the Bhagavad Gita where, I won't go into it much now, but where Arjuna, this warrior who's being spoken to by Krishna, doesn't want to fight the battle, and he says to Krishna, I could kill them. Like, I don't want to fight this. I could kill them. And Krishna, who's seen as God on earth, God in form, essentially says to him, oh, really? Like, and who are you to suddenly be the one who decides who lives and who dies? Like, yeah, you're the one with the bow and the arrow. But really? Someone else's ability to live or to die is up to you? Now suddenly you are the giver of life, the taker of life, the decider of all things? Of course not. So guilt it plays into a lot of our complexes, right? It's all about us and it's a story. And you've got to allow yourself to drop deeper. Are you in despair? You've lost a loved one? Feel it. Cry, yell, paint, make music, dance, do yoga. Find loved ones. Allow them to support you. Come to India, bathe in Ganga. Do a fire ceremony. Wait. Give it time. But don't start telling yourself stories, because they're not going to serve you in the future. And lastly, remember that the law of karma is not about rewards and punishments. Something happens to someone we love and that guilt says something bad, unequivocally bad happened. That's part one. And part two is it's all your fault. But even if we remove the part two that it's all your fault, Part 1 says it was unequivocally bad, objectively bad. Therefore, someone must be at fault. Guilt says it's you. Anger says it's someone else. But that's not how the law of karma works. The law of karma is not about being rich, being successful is somehow a reward, and being poor or failing is some kind of a punishment. Or being sick or dying is a punishment, and being healthy and strong is a reward. No. The law of karma is not about how rich you become or powerful or successful. It's about you taking your next step closer to God, closer to truth, closer to unfolding. And so each of us actually has those experiences that are exactly what we need to take our next step closer to the divine. So that person's karmic journey in this body was done. Doesn't actually have to do with you. It's not about you. It's about their journey. You were part of their journey, maybe a critical part of their journey, while their journey was on. In this body, in this incarnation. But then that journey finished. Their work was done. This body, this story, this set of this scene of the cosmic drama, it was over for them. Curtain fell. They're done. There's no more lines in the script of this scene. It's over. You were maybe their co-star in that scene. But now for them, that curtain is dropped. It's over. Not because you pushed them off the stage, but because their karmic package was done. They had unfolded, they had learned, they had experienced, they had traversed whatever they were meant to in this body, this incarnation. And you had learned whatever you needed to learn to unfold from them. Nobody's at fault. There was nothing objectively bad. Again, that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt awfully. But it just means that it wasn't a mistake in the cosmos. It actually happened as it was meant to happen. And you experiencing this pain is exactly what you need in this moment to take your next step. So don't sell yourself short by trying to repackage it as guilt. Feel what you're supposed to feel. And then you'll be able to walk through it into the next stage, the next layer of your journey. Beautiful, thank you. Other questions? Any question that anyone here has? Yes. He has a microphone for you. Good. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
You're good.
I'm Priyanshu Agarwal from Mumbai. My question was how to walk.
जोर से बोलिएगा.
My question was how to walk away from detachment.
How to?
Walk away from detachment.
Walk out from?
Detachment, like attachment from someone.
How to free yourself from attachment. So, detachment, or in Sanskrit what we speak of as vairagya, is considered a great virtue, being detached, because attachment causes suffering. Now, here's where people misunderstand. Detachment does not mean disconnection. Walking away from attachment does not free you from it. How many people sitting here have someone in the world you love, and even could say you're attached to, who's more than 500 miles away? Raise your hand. Have the miles made you less attached? Right? So walking away does not actually impact the attachment. That's just running away. And that doesn't actually achieve anything. In many cases, what that is a negligence of duty, of dharma, of responsibility, under the guise of spiritual growth, right? Our spiritual teachings say don't be attached. Therefore, I think I was too attached to this whole situation. I'm just going to walk away from it. Forget my responsibilities, forget my duties, forget my promises, forget everything. That is not what our spiritual teachings teach us. The teaching is not about being unattached to a being. Yes, eventually that comes. But the unattachment, the detachment, really is from all of that that keeps us stuck. Love doesn't keep you stuck. Love frees you. Love is expansive, not contracting. No one should misunderstand spirituality and think that it is saying, thou shalt not love because it causes attachments, which is bad. That's not what it says at all. What it does is it actually teaches us how to love in a way that we are free and the one we love is free. And it teaches us how to love on a level of soul to soul, rather than just body to body, or mental complex to mental complex. Otherwise, I'm just this psyche with my complexes, and you're that psyche with your complexes, and we do our complex thing until one of us says, oh my God, this isn't healthy, and we run away. But that's not love. Love is on the level of the soul. And so a commitment to detachment says, I love you, even if you do all those things that I really wish you didn't do. I love you, even when you say all those things that I really wish you wouldn't say. Even when you're not acting the way I want you to act. Because really what I love is soul to soul. And that's not about your drama. It's not about your actions. It's not about your words. It's not about your story. It's not about the complex to complex psyche situation. It's soul to soul. Detachment is from that, which is small and unimportant, in favor of that which is deep. And I'll give you the advanced course of this in a moment. And I'm going to throw several Sanskrit words at you. Don't worry, I'll define them. It's the advanced course on attachment, but I'll give it to you in just a minute or two, the gist of it. Because it's really powerful and it helps us see through the illusion about attachment. Okay, so vairagya, which is the Sanskrit word for detachment. It turns out, in the scriptures, a lot of these virtues are actually personified as living beings. They're not just amorphous, intangible virtues or ethics. And so vairagya was actually a person. Vairagya's brother is Gyan, wisdom. Vairagya and Gyan's mother is bhakti, devotion. Now, raise your hand if you've heard the word bhakti before, if you're familiar with it. Great, most of you. Love it. So we hear the word bhakti typically in the West. When we are singing kirtan, we're chanting God's name, we are in a state of love and ecstasy. Bhakti is juicy. It is juicy love and devotion. It is not dry, kind of platonic, oh yeah, I just, I love you like I love everyone. And, it's not that. It is juice of the heart love. The type of love that makes you cry, that makes you want to stay up all night to just sing and dance and be with the beloved. That's bhakti. Now, if vairagya is bhakti's offspring, it is impossible that juicy love gives birth to dry detachment. Detachment is dry. It's repressive. It's contracting. Bhakti is expansive, expressive. Bhakti does not give birth to dryness. Therefore, what it took me a long time to realize, it wasn't until I heard in the recitation of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and I heard Bhakti and Vairagya the son and Gyan the brother, and suddenly I realized, oh my God, detachment is not actually the right translation for Vairagya. That's not the right English. The right English is reattachment, meaning you have to go through bhakti to get vairagya. You cannot have son without mother. When you are attached to God, to the divine, any name, any form, it doesn't matter. When your heart is so full of love for God, the little things, who got the raise you wanted, who said something you didn't like, who did something you didn't like, who rained on your parade, who was rude, who was this, who cut you off in traffic, who has a bigger car, who has a nicer house. They are utterly and completely irrelevancies. You don't even notice them because you are so intoxicated in love. Think about when you fell in love. I mean, forget love of God for a moment, because for a lot of us it still feels far away. Think about when you fell in love with a person. Don't you notice how suddenly you're so much more tolerant of the really annoying coworkers? Suddenly the exact same people who really annoyed you last week, you're like, oh, I love you in your obnoxiousness. And they're like, what happened to you? Oh, somebody's in love. We know it. We feel it. Little things don't matter. Somebody dumps their cup of coffee accidentally on a report you've been working on for a week. You're like, oh, it's all right. No problem. I'll just redo it. Because you're in love. And that's all that matters. It's inconceivable that you'd start screaming at someone. You don't have it in you. You're just swimming. You're oozing in love. That's what real vairagya is. That's what real detachment is. But it doesn't come from walking away from those we're attached to. It comes from reattaching ourselves to the divine. And then all of the things about those people that make us want to walk away from them, suddenly we're like, it's okay, I love you anyway. Because it doesn't upset us in that way. It doesn't frustrate us in that way. And suddenly what we own, what we have, what we're yearning for, feels of very little consequence because our cup runneth over. That's the prosperity. When we pray on Diwali to Mahalakshmi, to the goddess of prosperity, the goddess of wealth, Well, she's not the goddess, as I always say. She's not an ATM or, a bank teller. She's not the goddess of cash. She's the goddess of that abundance, that prosperity. That's not about getting more, having more patience, false identities, whatever it may be. Join us in the morning at least once, if not every day, and offer it into the fire. That's the detachment. You don't actually have to walk away from anything. That's just dereliction of duty. Yeah, beautiful. Other questions? Yes.
I often find myself having picked up a book and promised myself that, all right, within this week, I'll complete this book. But then in the end, it's always like, all right, I missed reading it today. All right, tomorrow, it's delayed.
Yes.
The same thing sometimes happens with meditation. All right, I missed it today. Later. The problem of procrastination.
Yes.
So if it keeps on continuing with studies, with many things in life, in the end it harms a lot. So how can we save ourselves from this problem of procrastination? Because it does hurt a lot in the end.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful question. So, the dilemma with not doing what you say you're going to do. Procrastination is bad enough. Makes us delay life. But there's an even deeper problem that goes with it that you've touched upon, which is, if I say I'm going to read this book, and then I don't, my self-identity shifts, and where last week I might have said, oh yeah, I do what I say. I'm very committed, I'm very diligent, I'm very disciplined. I'm going to read this book. I read one book every week. But now this week I don't. And I keep procrastinating. Suddenly my mind starts to say, yeah, I never do anything I say I'm going to do. Yeah, I always make these promises and I don't fulfill them. And that's really dangerous. Skipping reading for a week, you'll survive. Even skipping meditating for 1 week, you will survive. But if you change your self-identity to someone who doesn't do what I say I'm going to do, then you end up setting yourself up for your entire life to never actually fulfilling any of these things. And this is why you have to work with all kinds of systems of rewards and punishments. Start small. I'm going to read 10 pages today. Okay? Choose something that you can do, and that you can do without too much difficulty. 10 pages. And if you don't, punish yourself. It sounds really basic. A lot of us would love to think that our minds are so deep and so complex and so vast that basic, simple kind of behavioral psychology techniques are for the, much simpler folk, not for people like me. But actually the truth is, the way that our minds work is really very simple. And so much of it is stimulus-response habits. In neurology, they say neurons that fire together, wire together. The more you do something, the more you're likely to do it. 10 pages in a day. You don't read them? All right, well, it means you don't get dinner or your TV show or to get to scroll Instagram or to get to go out with your friends or whatever it is, choose a thing. Choose a thing. For habits, by the way, on the same subject, for habits that come frequently, one of my favorite techniques, very simple and so effective. So you just get a little rubber band. Little rubber band. And again, for those of us on really deep journeys of the soul, it makes you feel a little bit like, one of Pavlov's dogs, or like, a very, very kind of basic, sort of low intelligent level being. But I have found at every stage of my spiritual path, it actually works really well. Little rubber band. And you do something that you've decided you're not going to do anymore, and you just fling it. That's all you do. You just fling it. Now, this part of your skin is really sensitive, and it hurts. It hurts. And you've got to do it immediately. Doesn't work if you go home later that night and then you do it a whole bunch. You've got to do it in that moment. So are you a chronic interrupter of other people? And you're trying to teach yourself to be a better listener? Every time you interrupt, just do that. Are you a chronic checker of your phone? Every single time it beeps, it blings, and you've decided that you're only going to look at it once an hour, 3 times a day, unless the actual phone rings and someone's calling you. You're going to look at it whenever it may be. And then you pick it up otherwise. Just every time you pick it up. And what happens is the brain starts anticipating. You're just going to reach for the phone, and the brain goes, ow. Now, you haven't even flung it yet. But the brain starts to associate interrupting someone with pain, picking up your phone with pain, biting your fingernails. I mean, you can do it for anything. Little habits, big habits, unimportant ones, important ones. So if it's that type of thing, there are these great techniques. For things that you are going to do, you've got to figure out a way to punish yourself that matters. So one of my favorites when I first started meditating was I wouldn't let myself brush my teeth until I had meditated. Now, for people who have a meditation practice, what most of you probably know is, it's actually a lot easier to meditate once you've brushed your teeth. Like once you're a bit fresh and you've washed your face and brushed your teeth and had a shower and whatnot. But in the beginning days when I would want to hit the snooze button or tell myself all kinds of stories about why I didn't have to get up that day, I set up a rule, which was, until I've meditated, no brushing of the teeth. Now try to walk out of your house without having brushed your teeth. Right? It's really uncomfortable. And you've only got to do that once before every day. Even if you're only doing it because you know, at least thank God, then I can brush my teeth. And you develop a habit. And then the habit starts to benefit you in such a way that it becomes even more important than brushing your teeth. And that just as walking out of the house without brushing your teeth feels icky, walking out without meditating or starting your day without meditating, if you haven't brushed your teeth, you go all along, you're kind of like that. Well, you start to feel that in your heart, in your mind. Like there's just that sort of sense of not rightness inside. But you've got to give yourself those. So if you don't read, pick something. What are you not going to give yourself that day? Or what are you going to make yourself do? Because it could work the other way. No reading, 20 push-ups. No reading, you're going to, clean the whole kitchen for mom. No reading, whatever it is. But something that you don't like to do. Train yourself. you're much less complex than you think. A lot of us get into the whole psychological thing. Oh, why won't I meditate? Why won't I do this? We're products of inertia, like pretty much everything on this earth. But once you get started, then it becomes you. So just start and punish yourself along the way if you have to. Strongly but lovingly. And you'll do it. Another really good thing is have a buddy, right? An accountability buddy. Somebody who is going to make you read. Come over to your house, sit with you while you read, meditate together. Whatever you're deciding to do, if you can have someone do it with you, keeps you motivated. But beautiful, beautiful at this young age to have that mindset. And you know, whatever you're looking for in life, whether it's enlightenment, awakening, spiritual truth and growth, or whether it's just peace, joy, love, there's nothing that's actually attainable on any of those levels that you can get without working with your mind. You've got to start working with your mind. Because the mind is so full of complexes, of issues, of games, of habits, of tendencies.